We just passed through some unusual summertime here in Boston, and I checked a couple of times, and it went up to 107 degree Fahrenheit, and I checked it with my car, and that was obviously unusual. And one time it's a 104 degree, and it was unusual compared, considering all the record from the past. For the past 150 years, and there may be some heat waves which last for almost a week or so, but only one time. But this year, what makes it special and unique was it was 2 major heat waves. So I felt that living in Boston is challenging now compared to the past. And we hear more and more and often hear about all the natural disasters which happen not only to the United States but also to all the corners of the global village. And it is not just about what is happening in Asia or Africa or South America alone. And we heard about tragic floods that happened in Europe last year, and also in Asia. And so in one place we hear of floods, and in other places many people are suffering from drought, no rain at all. And in other places we hear more often about fire, and that is related to the drought. And rain is rare, and then all the trees and grasses are dried up, and that is the main reason for a great fire in the forest. And that is true to many places. Then I have a lot of data in front of me, but I don't need to offer all these figures to you, because we feel it, we know it, and we experience it, and there's something wrong, and it's getting worse and worse. The suffering of the people caused by drought, it is not limited to the life of the people in California area. In many places in the United States, we suffer from drought. And for the past several days, we had some rain here, but it is not enough. And there's a great pond near Costco in Waltham area. It's right next to I-95, and that pond gives a very instant water level, depending on whether we have enough rain or not. And I remember a couple of years ago when I was driving by, it was, the level was, drastically lowered. And I heard once again that water level of that pond is lowered now. So it's not just about natural disasters that's happening somewhere over there, but it is also a problem and trouble and a big issue for us as well. Then, what's going on, and what's wrong with all these things? And what is behind of all these natural disasters? behind this, we can find climate change. Climate change. And it is still changing rapidly. And that caused all this kind of issues. And what was the reason for this climate change? And it is global warming. And I studied in my preparation sermon, there's some evidences, there's some changes of climate since the industrial period. For that time period, the average of the temperature has grown up, a little bit more than 1%, 1 degree. So that is one of the reasons of global warming. That was a great thing for in human history that changed our human life. I mean, the Industrial Revolution. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, human beings in a way were able to, and still are able to, produce many stuff. And I feel, and we know that we now live surrounded by many stuff. Back in old days, in my childhood, actually my parents' generation still have a habit of storing some stuff, clothes. And they don't want to just throw away all the dresses and clothes because you can, use it for other purposes. So, and I remember all our clothes and eventually turned to be a wiping material for the furniture and for the floors. No one wanted to just throw it away. But at some point, and then now I heard that consumption is a virtue. Consumption is a virtue. If you like to talk about economy, in terms of the economy, consumption is needed. If you don't consume all the products, that means people don't buy. That means the factories will not produce all the items. And if you like us to see all the economy going smoothly, and then you have to buy something, you have to consume that. It may be right in terms of the economy, but that is not without cost or expenses. Because if we consume more, that means that we make some waste from that consumption, more and more. And the products that we use for our daily life today is including some plastic and everything that will not go away. It takes so long time to see all those stuff disappear. So in one way or the other, we have been ruining our place. And we have been giving and doing some damages to our Mother Nature. So we still enjoy the benefits that Industrial Revolution has brought, but along with some issues and problems and expenses. And for that Industrial Revolution and for the development of technology, and it was well praised. And the church is not avoidable from being responsible for all those things. Because at some point, the messages that the church gave to the world was that God has given us the authority to rule over the whole creation. Then we can find some passages in the book of Genesis and in the creation story and in Psalms and in other places. But now is the right time for us to think about the real meaning of that God has given us the authority and power to rule over and to have the dominion of all other creation. One thing is, so let us just think about what it truly means to us. First of all, we are not the owners of the creation. God owns everything. And we are simply entrusted by God to take good care of it. So in creation, we become good stewards when we keep and sustain and tend and shepherd nature, not exploit her. In Hebrew languages, there are 3 different verbs for to rule or to have dominion, which is marshal, another radach, and the other kabash. And among these, the Hebrew verb kabash means to tread down, subordinate, subdue. And it is used in reference to forcing something. Another verb, marshal, is used to render the meaning of to have dominion or to exercise authority over. Psalm 8, for instance, uses marshal in the 6th verse when it says, "You have given them dominion over the works of your hands." Marshal. The Hebrew verb that is used in the book of Genesis in relation to the first creation narrative is radach. It's a different verb, radach. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." Even though some believe this verb radach has an associated meaning of oppression, several scholars argue that its basic meaning is to wander around. And its meaning in the context of Genesis 1 verse 28 is to be a shepherd. Wander about is meaning that as a shepherd you wander about to give good care to your sheep. Wander about, giving good care. So it means to play the role of a justice of peace. So no Bible passage allows the exploitation or misuse or abuse of the nature. But we human beings abuse her in the name of development, improvement, civilization, and modernization. We Christians also are not free from this responsibility. So the first thing that we need to do on this in this time of celebrating Earth Day is is that God has given all these things to us. It's a gift. We also has been created. As a creature, God has given us a special authority. But it is not to destroy or exploit it, but to give good care of it. I understand this, that we are a gardener. God appointed all the human beings as gardeners to this beautiful garden. Garden of the Eden and Garden of the Global Village. So as a gardener, we live in this garden, thank God, in this beautiful garden. And also, we have been entrusted with a mission and our job. And our job is to give care to this garden. But with some misunderstanding or a misconception of the divine intention, we just destroy it and exploit it for our pleasure and for our benefit alone. Believing that we are away from this garden. And we are gardeners, but we do not commute. We live somewhere else, and then you come and do some work at the garden. And it doesn't matter what's going on in the garden, because you live in a more comfortable place somewhere else. But we are the gardeners living in that garden. So if we do not give good care to the garden, and then if we just destroy it, then we are destroying our own places, our own garden. It is not so serious for us, but now we feel it and we experience it. It's a kind of counterattack that comes from the nature. Not because of the nature that basically is evil or bad. Because the thing that we did something to the nature, and the nature is suffering. And then I feel almost like the nature is crying out of pain, screaming, no more. I'm dying. And you will be dead as well in this dead garden. So we really have to change our minds first. We're the gardeners. We have a great responsibility to give good care to the nature. In this sermon, today's sermon is heavily based on the sermon that has been provided by that special academy, and also in this is especially special thanks to the Reverend Wonjin Chung, who works for Korean Association. And he feels like, while watching all the things that what's going on in the nature and in the whole creation, it is like the one who met with the robber on his way to Jericho. He was bitten, he was robbed, he was dying. Mother Nature, has been robbed, bitten, and the Mother Nature is dying. And who did this? We are both a victim, because we now suffer from all the damages in the nature. But we are both a victim and an offender. Because it was us who did this to the Mother Nature. The one who was robbed was not able to stand up and go and to take care of itself. No power at all. Some kind of intervention from outside is necessary. And that was when the Good Samaritan appeared and did something good to the man. We were the one who did this to the Mother Nature. And we should be the one who approached this dying Mother Nature and bringing healing again and restoration to this Mother Nature. And what should we do to inherit the eternal life? And what do you know about that? Love our God, love your God, and love our neighbors. And just do it. You know well about it, and just do it. Yes. The first thing that we need to know about in terms of Earth Day is that we have to change our thoughts and concepts of an understanding of the biblical passages, of what it means to be a steward or a gardener that has been given by God. But it is not enough. It is not enough. Knowing is one thing, and doing is another. And if you do know well about how to inherit and receive the eternal life and love your God and love your neighbor, just do it. If you know something that we need to do to this Mother Nature for the restoration, then we need to do something. Then it should be an emergent and urgent action, because we may have very, very limited time now. Some scholars of climate like to talk about great acceleration and great transformation. Great acceleration. And we experience since the Industrial Revolution and some climate changes. And it's getting warmer and warmer. And the speed is accelerating now. And between 2013 and 2019, for this 7-year period, 0.24 degrees in Celsius has increased. And it is earlier than we expected, and actually earlier IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that association, assumed and anticipated the kind of gradual increase of the global warming, but from the data that we got from this 7-year period, and that is 10 years earlier than that had anticipated. So it's accelerating. The climate is rapidly changing. And then we see and hear more and more fires for the past 40 years. 3 times more. So what should we do in this rapidly changing situation? Ahn is what we call carbon neutral or carbon zero. We can't live without emitting some carbons. Of course, we really have to do our best to reduce emitting greenhouse gas or carbon. But at the same time, we can't live without emitting some amount of carbon anyway. Then we may need to work on to remove carbon as well. It's not an option, it's a must. In today's another biblical passage from Romans 8 and 19, it says, I consider the sufferings of the present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to reveal to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. Creation. The creation means the whole nature of the universe that God has created, except for human beings. Because in 3 verses later, there's another passage that includes the human beings. So here, the creation is the whole creation and universe, the nature, except for human beings. And the other creature fellows wait. They wait. The nature, the mother nature waits with eager longing for the what? For what? The revealing of the children of God. Oh, the creation is waiting for us because we know that we are the children of God. And for what purpose? If you are truly children of God and you will do something to bring healing and restoration of the mother nature, so the creation is waiting for the revealing of the children of God. Let us just think about us. We are human beings. Somewhat, in some way, we had some issues in the past. And then through our faith in Jesus Christ, we feel and we experience healing. And we enjoy salvation. And we know that we have been restored to the original image as it is when God was creating us. As the one with divine image in us. We really need to be restored to that image. And then we Christians believe that we have been, in our faith, we have been restored. And we got the divine image back. And actually it was there anyway. It is well hidden of our own darkness. But when the light comes in, all the darkness that covered the divine image is gone. And the divine image is revealed fully in what we say and what we do in our daily lives. That's the moment when we experience healing and restoration. And now, as the one who has been restored, will work and will have to work for the restoration of the whole creation. That's our Christian responsibility. That's why the whole creation has been waiting with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. Let us just imagine and many people say that, human beings are the only one who did and still do the damage to the Mother Nature. What other animals can do the damage to Mother Nature like us, like human beings? No. We are responsible for all these things. As we have been not a good gardener so far, so we should be a better gardener. So we need to work on restoration of the Mother Nature. And that is our Christian responsibility. But also, that is the best way and the only way that we can lead, that we can survive, and we can thrive once again on this planet. So, I'd like to invite all to this great mission. And some scholars say that it may be too late. They may be right. I'm very much negative about the current situation. But even when we know that the catastrophe is inevitable, but I still like to do something for it. As a philosopher said, and even when I know that the doomsday will come tomorrow, and I'll plant a seed of an apple tree today. Yes, we need to do something. What can you do? What will you do? I know that you have been doing well for that causes, but let us just do more. Let us consume less. Whatever. Water, electricity, whatever. Let us use less. And let us do more. Spend some time and energy to reduce the emission of carbon and to remove carbon. So we may like to study more and about to make our efforts to be more exact and to be in detail. Then we may like to check more about what action would emit more carbon or less. We may like to study about that. But we want to be the real and true children of God who will give care to the Mother Nature, who will bring God's healing and restoration to this dying